Yeah, so today we're going over all the new system changes coming on May 9th. Yesterday I did a video going over the two new events, and now we got more information going over all these new system changes that we're getting. So, first thing they talked about a lot in this text below, in the little paragraph they got, basically they're talking about the older dungeons, for example, Yeti, Lair of the Frozen Fang, Awakened Necropolis. All these dungeons that are about almost, like 2 years old, they're going to be kind of nerfing these dungeons, and their reason why, basically, their reason why they're explaining why they're doing this is because they feel like they want to push people to do the newer content and not do the older dungeons so much. So all these dungeons are going to be getting a big nerf to their daily gold and also just the rewards they give. So they're going to be removing a lot of stuff from that. So they really want players to stop doing these older dungeons and really focus on newer dungeons. Honestly, this could be a good and a bad thing. It could be bad because for newer players, a lot of these dungeons like Yeti and Avalanche Den, and well, that's the same dungeon, but Yeti, Lair of the Frozen Fang, all these dungeons. A lot of these dungeons for newer players are really the only ones they can do because they're not super geared to even get into like a 1k AP party for like Naru Sanctum and stuff like that. So nerfing these actually kind of hurts them a lot because it just makes the gap even wider for them to try to get to that 1k AP and gear up quickly because the gold income and the materials are going to be way less. Honestly, it could be good too because it forces players to not have to run the older content so much. For example, like they're buffing Everdrake Lair with these system changes, and I feel like that's a good move because right now Everdrake Lair only gives like 4 or 5 daily gold for a premium member, and literally you can just run Avalanche Den, Lair of the Frozen Fang, and even Awakened Necropolis faster than you can do Everdrake Lair, because Everdrake Lair is a slow-ass dungeon, super long, and you will gain more gold and more materials just from doing that. And it doesn't really make sense that a dungeon like Everdrake Lair, with the difficulty and how long it is, the rewards are not really up to par. So most people will just do older dungeons. So this could be good for that because it'll make these newer dungeons worth doing, but also it can hurt newer players who are trying to get to like 1k AP. So it's a good and bad thing, They did mention that they're rebalancing it, so basically the faster you clear the older dungeons, the more rewards you get, which again, honestly, this caters more towards kind of the whales because obviously if you have, 1200 AP and you clear Yeti within a couple minutes, you're going to get great rewards, where someone who, is just starting out with 900 AP, they're not going to get good rewards or anything because it's going to take them a long ass time to kill Yeti and everything like that. So that change really is just honestly better for whales and new players. So again, kind of hurting new players, but overall it's kind of a good and bad thing. Just kind of depends on really how you look at it. Personally, for me, I feel like it's kind of doing more harm than good, but that's their changes on that. So they're going to be buffed from Naru Sanctum. They're going to be adding new chests, new keys, stuff like that. Also adding higher drop rates for Blackstones, which is nice because then you can upgrade your Raven weapon hopefully faster because you need a lot of Blackstones to upgrade the Raven weapon. So that's good for that. They also added in a Raven Feather, so really, really good. But no, I always laugh when they put in like Raven Feathers for stuff, but now you can get a Raven Feather, so there's that. Also, they added a Rare Lucian Promise Treasure Chest, and it says it's a new version of the old one. It's going to have guaranteed materials, so hopefully like Moonstone Crystals and stuff like that, hopefully. So that's what they're doing for that. Everdrake Lair and Naru Sanctum, they're just going to be buffing those dungeons for people who are more incentivized to run those dungeons and have less desire to run the older ones. So definitely let me know what you guys think on that. Just that alone is really interesting. I kind of want to know what you guys think about that. Another thing they're doing is upgrade cost rebalancing. They released a forum post a couple weeks ago announcing they're going to be adjusting how many Moonstone Crystals you need for certain material, and then making you need more for other ones. So, for example, let's say, like a Baleful weapon, you need less Moonstone Crystals to upgrade it, but you need more like Elysium Crystals. So it's not a reduction or anything like that, it's just a rebalance. Now, what you can do is if you click on the link, the Eternal Night item rebalancing, they have a huge, page of just all the rebalancing. The big issue I have with this, if you go and click on it and look at it, they didn't reduce any Moonstone Crystals for Raven, or the big one, Vortex Temple Necklace. Now, all they did was reduce the Moonstone crystals needed for like Riftwalk and Dawnforge, and then Storm Dragon and Exiled, and Baleful and Syrup. Now, honestly, Baleful and Syrup might be helpful if you're making an old character or if you're a new player, so that's good for them, reducing the Moonstone crystals needed. But honestly, everyone nowadays goes Raven Stage 1 and then upgrades that, so the Riftwalk stuff is not going to be useful at all. And so I don't understand why they didn't rebalance the Raven Moonstone crystals, because you actually need a pretty good amount to upgrade those. So I don't understand why they didn't do that. And then also, Vortex Temple Necklace, to upgrade that one, you need well over like 1,000 Moonstone crystals, which is completely ridiculous. That is an insane amount of Moonstone crystals just to upgrade a dumb necklace. And the fact that they didn't rebalance that is insane to me, because that's probably the biggest offender in Moonstone crystals in the game. And I'm really, really surprised they did not adjust that. I thought for sure that'd be like the first item they fixed. But they didn't adjust that at all. So honestly, these changes are kind of underwhelming to me, because I feel like most of the changes are not going to even help most players. Like maybe the Syrup and Baleful starting out, but everyone goes Raven. So these changes are not super good in my opinion. And I was kind of hyped for these. I thought they were going to be fixing a lot of things, but I feel like the rebalancing is kind of underwhelming. That's my opinion. Maybe if you go like Storm Dragon on your Destroyer character, maybe it'll help you, but majority of the player base are going Raven, and they didn't reduce any of the Raven Moonstone crystals or anything like that. So very weird to me, but that's the rebalancing they did. If you want to click the link, you can check out all the stuff they did. It's a huge page. I'm not going to go over it, but definitely check that out. Next thing they're doing, this is the in-game macro. So this is something that was teased basically in Korea. And what it does, you can set like a combo, and then when you use your right mouse button, it'll set off that combo. So this is actually really nice, because this is for people who don't want to kill their hands with maybe like the Kung Fu Master. You can just set like a rotation, and then use your RMB, your right click, and then you don't have to spam all the keys on your keyboard and your mouse. So this actually is kind of cool. The only thing I have heard is that sometimes the rotation is not doing as much damage as it would if you actually did it yourself. But still, this might help people out who maybe have like hand issues or stuff like that. And also, so it's kind of like an in-game macro. But that's all I know about that really. But it sounds pretty interesting. I'm definitely going to try it out and see how much my DPS is. Because sometimes, honestly, my hands will hurt and stuff like that from spamming, LMB and F and everything like that. So it is kind of cool that they're adding that. And definitely going to check that out in-game. Another thing they got is the patch notes. So, big thing they're doing for the soul is they're reducing all the souls. So, from Hanmoon Energy Stage 1 all the way to True Cosmic Soul, they're going to be reducing the needed sacred oils for that. So, I'm really interested to know how much they're reducing that. We really don't know yet. I hate that they never really post the exact amount. They always wait till like you get into in-game. They did this for the Raven nerfs that they did. They never announced the amount that they're reducing it by. They just said they're reducing Raven, and then you had to wait till you logged into the game. So we won't really know until we log into the game, but I am glad to see that they are reducing that, because right now, upgrading your soul is completely necessary to keep progressing in the game. And right now, with sacred oils being so expensive, definitely feel like it needs to be nerfed so that you can upgrade faster. So that's really good. Quickly, the pet aura, that's getting some buffs on their HP, and just HP recovery effects and stuff like that are getting a little bit of a buff. Soul shields, this is kind of a big one. The Raven feathers required to purchase your Raven soul shields for 1 through 8 are going to be reduced. So hopefully that will help new players catch up and get their full set of Raven soul shields. So that'll actually be nice for new players and of course old characters. Also, this is another big one. Pet pack will now be bound to account. Finally, that was long overdue. I'm really glad they finally made that bound to account, so that's really nice. And only 50 silver each, which is not a big deal. Of course, Sacred Oil will now be changed to Sacred Vial. And they did upgrade it, so now it's going to be having a mailing fee. I was kind of worried with this at first. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to add like a 10 gold mailing fee. But honestly, only 1 gold and 50 silver is not a big deal to transfer to other characters. Honestly, I just don't really understand why they even did that. Like, why? But, it's in there. Not too bad. Won't really break your bank or anything like that. This is another big one. The Premium Honmoon SP Charm, the 5 million one, will have a 24-hour cooldown. So if you guys don't remember, when every whale in the game was tracking all the 5 million Honmoon SP Charms and spamming them and getting to like Honmoon 20, that's because it was only on a 5-second cooldown. Now it's on a 24-hour cooldown. So no more spamming those every single second and getting to Honmoon 22 if you're a whale. My only problem with this is the damage is already done. Like, almost every whale in the game is already at their Honmoon level that they wanted to be. Like, honestly, if NCSoft really cared about this happening, they would have had emergency maintenance like they did for the NPC that had a female voice that was a male or whatever. That meme that we got on Reddit, that's hilarious. But if they really cared, they would have had emergency maintenance and then put this in right away when it was happening, because now the damage is already done. So, you know, A for effort, but I just feel like it's already too late. Like, all the whales already got to like the Honmoon level they wanted to. But, you know, I'm glad they finally did something, but it's just too late. If they really cared, they would have put, in my opinion, emergency maintenance and fixed it right away when it was happening. But, you know, 24-hour cooldown on those. So overall, that's most of the system changes. There's so much new stuff coming. Definitely don't have time to cover it all in this video, otherwise it'd be like a 30-minute video. But obviously, you can check it out on the website if you really want to look over every single item. But I just wanted to go over kind of the main things, and hopefully see what you guys think about this too, and just discuss it and everything like that. And thank you guys for watching, of course, and I'll see you guys real soon.